Hello, my name is Brandi Hofer, your host and founder of Color Me Happy, a community podcast and book, all of which I started in my in-home studio whilst in the throes of motherhood. I am an artist, author, educator, and mother to 3 beautiful boys. We live and create together in our in-home studio that is tucked away in the quiet Canadian prairies. Our podcast and community was built to empower and inspire. We chat about everything from motherhood, the art world, business, and health in the most honest and authentic way. It's totally unedited and unfiltered. If you love what we do here, become a part of our free community, Color Me Happy. We have grown the community to support our members with features and interviews. Our link is in the notes. Thank you for being here. I sure do appreciate your time.
Hey, welcome to Color Me Happy podcast. My name is Brandi Hofer, your host. Thank you so much for being here today. I am back in the studio because I noticed I didn't do any artwork unless I edited and did admin in my studio with my laptop. But I move upstairs because that's my podcasting space because it looks nicer and I have real live guests coming over. But I'm my studio manager was here and we were doing our monthlies and I was like, I gotta stay down here because I work in let's call them ADHD increments. So 15-minute windows of moving from one task to another. And some of those tasks need to be checked off in the studio. So custom artwork. In this season, I didn't take a lot, but I took a couple and they need to be finished. And I have a cool session coming up on YouTube, a free thing that we're doing. It's called Making Bad Art. So my paint pants and a couple cool little just fun projects to take the pressure off your creativity. Another thing I'm really excited about announcing finally is our large scale portrait class. So scaling your work, moving from portrait class into large scale, working on canvases, our stretching technique, with raw canvas instead of working on prepped and primed surfaces. Leave a little more leeway for expressionism, happy accidents. And it's just really a gorgeous process. So I share everything that I know of the last 20 years. Yeah, and obviously not obviously, but I have my degree and everything I have known about materials and stuff like that, and our techniques and using a projector, scaling your work into murals, client relations, contracts, everything you need to know, marketing, everything in a really good course package. So I'm really proud of it. It's $159, same as portrait class. It should be more, but I really just want people to be able to take it. And I know not everyone has that financial means or ability. And especially as creatives, I remember that would have been huge for me, 7 or 8 years ago. So I appreciate you being here and I appreciate your support. So I want to make my classes not that invest in yourself $3,000 and then you'll get it back. You'll get it back, but I'm charging you $159. Our sale also stayed on until Monday, is staying on until Monday, because we did have some people reach out and they're like, I would love to get this, just can you wait till payday and I can catch your sale? And so I totally hear you. So we're leaving the class sale on, the original sale, and the print sale. So the codes are all on my Insta at Brandi Hofer Studios. Feel free to reach out with questions anytime. We're so happy that you are here. Enjoy this really fun conversation about everything and in between. Really though, about claiming your creativity and really sitting in the you that is you and being proud of it. Because in every season of life, we understand that it will change. So this is a fun motherhood artist podcast. We hope you enjoy it. Thanks for being here. And thank you to our sponsors, Red Bicycle Communications, BioClean, Disaster Services, Oasis, Hot Yoga and Spin Studio. I'm a salesperson, just An organic one. Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Center, and we appreciate your support and partnership. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't do it without you, the listeners. So feel free to join our free Color Me Happy community where we can support you too. And thanks for being here, friend. Enjoy this weekend's podcast, and we're happy to hear from you anytime.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Hey, so we were just chatting about the jump from 2 kids to 3. And I said how much it sucked. And when you're like sorely outnumbered with 3 versus 1, it's a challenge. So I was just saying that you were saying how much you would want a baby because it's hard because babies are so sweet. And I visited my aunt, and it ended up 2 of her kids ended up having twins.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just nuts. Like she had 3 kids, and then 2 out of her 3 kids had twins. And we had all our kids there, and then a set of like 7-month-old twins. And that did not make me miss babies.
No,
at all.
We flew like right after our second daughter was born, and the flight attendant on the flight was like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter just is about to have her babies," but like they had 2 kids already, and we're like, "We'll go for a third," and she got pregnant with triplets, and I'm like there with this 3-month-old baby, and I was like, that's not a gamble I'm willing to take, like to go from 2 to 5.
I live in a small place, and that happened and they're my son's age, and they're in his grade. And there are 3 girl triplets, and they're so funny. But they had 3 boys, I believe, and they were trying for a girl or something
even it
crazy.
out.
Something like that. Or they had 2 boys and they wanted, and I guess the dad like passed out when they did the ultrasound. I don't know. I would throw up. I don't know. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, amazing and beautiful and exciting life too. I'm like, apparently weak. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's weak. It's like I think everyone equally, including parents and children, deserve to pursue their passion and joy in life.
Yeah, and whether it's 8 kids or studio time.
I don't think one person should have to self-sacrifice who they are.
Yeah, true.
And I loved my mom because she was like so stubborn. She would like sit on the phone and talk with her sisters at night and smoke cigarettes. And like, we weren't allowed to. She was just like, "What are you guys talking about? None of your business. Go away."
Yeah.
This is my time.
Did you ever read the book, The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood?
Isn't it a movie too?
They did make a movie too, but it's a book, and the author has some other books as well. So I can't remember if it's in that book or another book with the same storyline. But these 4 best friends grow up and have children, and they take their children to the lake during the summer, and there's like no husbands allowed. So it's just like feral moms. No one's shaving their legs. No one's wearing makeup. No one's wearing a bra. And it's just the moms and the kids like living at the lake. And there's this moment where they lay on by the water, and all the moms take 15-minute shifts. So you're like napping or just laying in the sun for 45 minutes with your eyes closed while one mom is the lifeguard. And she's like counting off all the kids. I'm like, that sounds amazing. A 15-minute watch of the kids while I nap for 45 minutes.
They should have a Yaya Sisterhood camp.
Yes, exactly.
That should be a thing.
Yeah. All the moms and all the kids.
Except the mom should just hire teenagers to run the camp, and they go in a separate camp, like across the lake.
Yeah, across the lake. You have to canoe over if you really need me that bad.
I loved that movie, like obsessed with the movie. Kirsten Dunst is in it, right?
I can't remember.
Like so many. It was like I watched it on tape, so it's old.
Mm-hmm. Be kind, be wise.
Yeah. So that dates us both, I guess. Maybe.
What are you drinking? What is that concoction? Because
everyone always asks me that.
Suspiciously like paint water.
looks gross.
Looks
Everyone's
like
like,
paint water,
ugh,
but
what are
not,
you
I'm
doing
guessing.
there? I've been testing the waters literally with mud water and AG1.
Okay. And
I'm like super into sustainable energy in the body, like
amazing.
steady, sustained energy throughout the day. I like it. I was crashing really hard at 3, like life could not go on past 3 o'clock. And so, and same with my kids, like I crashed with them. It's like, oh, this is the worst time of day. And so I've been really into, and my naturopath got me started on like the power of like mushrooms. So
Okay.
drinks with like not microdosing, just like drinks or pills with that mushroom blend of reishi, lion's mane, like all the mushrooms that make you feel like really great for women. I
Cool.
actually want to try to get some sort of woman doctor, female doctor who knows like so I can stop talking about it and be like, these are great. They'll make you feel amazing. But like the actual science behind why they help with women with energy and omega-3s are really important for that too, with like brain fog.
Mhm.
And your D, but they help with mood and hormones. I struggled with like the 10 days before menstrual cycle, sort of crazy. So they've been keeping me pretty chill-ish.
Amazing.
More like nicer than usual.
I have a friend who's she's got a great podcast and she's a naturopath in Kingston. You should check her out because she would
Yeah.
definitely be down to chat. Her name's Jill Murphy, but online she's Food Freedom Body Love. And she's got some super interesting content.
Oh my gosh. A lot of times I like feel like people are like looking at me like I'm crazy. And my husband can't like drink either and he doesn't sleep and like, you know, your body is your temple. And we were out at this thing and he's like, I didn't sleep last night because I had 2 beers. And I was like, don't get beer then. Like if it makes you feel so terrible. And then he's like, I can't just show up and order a chamomile tea like you did. It's like we were with like 30 adults, and if I did that, I would be made fun of. And I get it. I get that would be really hard. So I get it's hard. It's not easy for me either to be like, I'm not having a cocktail, you know, because with the kids, like I just can't risk being not my best self. I feel that's not fair to them. It's not fair to me or my business or anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so your girls, do they join you in the studio?
Yeah, all the time. So I went to school for dance actually and choreography. So that's what like my fine art focus was, not, or like my BFA was dance, not painting, not visual art, but I've always painted. And so they've grown up in both studios. So I still actively choreograph and perform. And I was like 8.5 months pregnant probably with Daphne before I stopped teaching. And then with Coco, I was hilariously teaching a couple that was getting married a private class. They wanted to learn Gangnam Style for their wedding. And I was like, it was 2 days before I birthed that baby. So I was the most pregnant ever teaching my very last class, Gangnam Style. And that's pretty hilarious. So they've grown up in the studio since they were babies. Like since before they could sit up, I was in shows. I can remember like teching on stage, breastfeeding because my partner was away. And I was like, okay, I have a baby and she needs to be with me all the time. So here we are. And I'd be like backstage pumping. I've performed pregnant in shows where like part of the stage manager's job was to have, I'm just like a pukey person. I puke through all my pregnancies. So I was not showing pregnant, but I was puking pregnant. And they had buckets at like 3 different exits on the stage.
Oh my God.
Like mid show and have just a quick little puke and come right back. So they've been just like like, I don't know. I mean, obviously I know my art practice before they were born, but since I became pregnant, like there was just okay, you're just now a part of it. This is my life. They just got absorbed in very quickly. They have stuff stashed all around the studio here, or like I'll have a space at home where I create as well. And they've just grown up with that. And also they're pandemic kids. So interesting, because that changed where I was like, I was only working at home, but it was still like, I'm in the studio working and you're in the studio with me. But they had so much concentrated time of that.
Mm-hmm. Mine won't come in unless I set up like a giant paint bomb. Like,
I love watching them work with you though. It's so good.
yeah. Like I love having my niece or one of the neighborhood girls over or something, because they just are like happy to sit with me like nicely, and that doesn't happen with any of my own children.
So funny.
Yeah. And I get it. They just have lots of energy. They're just at the ages where it's like tons and tons of energy, or I'm just not cool, really.
You're
like,
their mom,
as cool
right?
as their
For the
friend.
neighborhood kids, they're like, you're that cool artist.
Yeah, totally. That's the difference right there. It's like, everyone has this, right? Whatever. It's not even, don't
Like
even
when you go
care.
to your friend's house who has the Barbie dream house and you don't, like, that's what my daughter is telling me. She's like, Minley has the Barbie dream house. I'm like, okay, cool. You have like a beautiful wooden one that your dad built you, but it's like not the Barbie dream
Doesn't
house.
have Barbie on it.
No.
So are you still doing performance and stuff?
Yeah. So I just choreographed I did the movement direction for a music video for like a local band, but it won Best Video at a film festival. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks. I was dancing in it too. It was a little complicated because we were body painted, but the paint wasn't very good.
Well, because you can't use the good stuff on your body, right?
Well, I think there's like varying levels of body paint. So like I just think it was, again, another like pandemic related thing of like what was available, probably what was available within the budget, multiple things like that. So it was a little tricky, but overall it turned out a really interesting video. So I do work like that. And
do you have a link where everyone that you can send me that I can put in the notes?
Yes,
because
I will definitely
love to see it. I'm sure everyone else would too.
Yeah, it's an
neat.
interesting short video to watch. And I'm part of a dance festival in town every summer, and like there's a few festivals in town that we dance for where like I'm dancing with one, like the only professional collective in Kingston. And then I teach just like one night a week because it gets complicated. But I teach one night a week dance, and then sometimes take choreography contracts.
Oh my gosh. And parent and paint. You've been doing murals too, right?
Yeah, so I have some exciting ones coming up for the summer, which I'm excited about. I have one starting this week in a residence, so just a playroom mural, but that's going to be fun. And I just like the whole process of it, of like a collaborative design process, coming up with colors that are like, that I like, that the client likes, that fit cohesively in their house, but are still like something new and interesting. So we're in that stage right now where I've picked up 2 sample colors for like the main background. And on Monday, I'll go over and paint the 2 samples for her to choose, and I'll sketch out the whole design. And then I usually leave it for however long they like. Like they could call me in one day and be like, it's perfect, we want that, go ahead. Or, sometimes they like live with it for a week or 2 and they decide like, okay, yes, or okay, I like chalk the design on so it's easy to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then like if they want to make changes, it's kind of simple. So that's an easy way to work it into my schedule when it's a smaller project and not like a huge commercial project.
Mm-hmm. It's such an important step though, to do that, because you're wasting time and materials if you skip that step. Like I've had, and I know this from experience. So, and when we do the mural class, or when I did it, it's out there. I was like, don't like the whole reason you're taking this is to make sure you don't do what I did and waste your time and materials, because like I had one client who's like, oh, I trust you, I love everything you do, and then it was like a week and a half later, and like even that day she's like, it's so great, and the week and a half later she's like, I'm not sure. Just like I don't. So what I do now is actually design it digitally, like just on Procreate, like nothing crazy. It doesn't take a lot of time. Like I don't do like it perfectly perfect, but like pretty close to like the concept of like, you know, and then I superimpose it on the room also in Procreate, just with
so simple.
Yeah, and then they're like they see it.
Recommendation, like, if you want to get into muraling, put the expense into having an iPad and Procreate, because it is, and even not even just for muraling, like selling a large painting. When people are like, I have this wall in my house, I'm like, let me show you what 4 different, even if it's like, I like this painting, but it's a 12 by 12, you know, like a small painting, I can blow it up huge in Procreate and show them what like that style of painting would look like if we made a 4-foot size of it for their wall, right? So it's great client tool. I could not recommend it enough.
Oh my gosh. And just like even the kids love it. Like they fight, well, but they always lose my Apple Pen, and I'm just like, I'm gonna murder you if you lose this again.
That happened.
They already broke one
recently. They were like watching, because like they don't have their own tablets or anything. And at first I was like, you cannot use my iPad. Obviously that has come and gone. They now use the iPad. But we were flying and they were like watching a movie with like the double plug so that they could each be plugged into it. And then like my daughter's like, oh, the pencil's gone. I'm like, what? We found it. Thankfully, I was good back, but I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be crawling under each one of these plane seats to find this dang
just pencil. Lost my pen here, and they'll be like, who is this psycho?
Oh yeah, just me. I was like talking to flight attendants. I had the people in front of me looking.
This is like a $200 pen.
So yes, and then they lost the tip one time. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. So I actually, they're not really allowed to use mine anymore because there's been so many instances, and I just like, things have been replaced. So I actually got them the cheapy, we did it for, Santa got them the cheapy fire tablets with like the foam cases. Honestly, my son, it's like cracked to like the cap. I've even taped it with packing tape, and it's been like 3 years, and those things have not died or anything. And for traveling, it's like, it's just a must, and they're not super overly expensive. So for like a Santa gift or a birthday gift, it's like totally worth the investment of not effing up your iPad.
Yeah, we had a play yard injury yesterday at school that I was not anticipating, and I had a chiropractic appointment, so I had to like rush to school to pick her up, and then like, you're coming to the chiropractor with me because you're okay. And so then thankfully I had the iPad, and she was like drawing in Procreate during my appointment, so it does come in handy at times.
Yeah, I like your girls are probably more responsible at this point, like than like my one son has ruined 3 Nintendo Switches.
Ooh.
Yeah. 2 lights and 1 switch, like jamming the plug-in wrong, and then dropping one in the tub, and then walking and dropping it and accidentally stepping on it. He's really clumsy. So like, how mad can you get? I don't know.
Oh yeah, like, my second daughter's like that. She's like trips over her own feet all the time. But I think my daughters are kind of like very particular about rules, because they like to call me on them. So like, I do my best work from the tub when I'm not painting. Like I do my best admin in a hot bath late at night, and they'll like get up to go to the bathroom, and they'll come in and they'll be like, why do you have your phone in the bathtub? They're like, that is definitely not allowed, unsafe. They're like ticking off all the things. I'm like, just move it along. Go back to bed.
I know this.
Anything that happens after bedtime is a dream.
Yeah. So you said your partner works in military?
Yeah, so that's why we're moving all the time.
Mm.
So like my practice does pick up and go, but it's like a con in any career. It's a big con in this career, but it's also like a big pro. Like there's both. I have to acknowledge both for sure. Like I get to go live somewhere and meet a whole new community and hopefully get new clients that will then stay clients of mine even if I move away.
Mm-hmm.
So in one way it really does help me expand my community. But it's hard to always be like the new kid. Like it's not just my kids and the new kid. It's like, it's hard to show up in an arts community and be like, hi, I'm the new girl. But to also feel like, but I'm 37.
And
I've
I know
been like an artist for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not 18 or I didn't start painting last week. I don't want to be treated like the new kid either.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when we only live somewhere for maybe 2 years. Like I don't have the like time to put in to be like, okay, we'll just put in the hours and then like, eventually you'll make connections, which I do it, but I get frustrated.
I bet that's probably so exhausting.
Yeah.
So that's when like online would be like a very great resource.
Yeah.
Because that's something you'll always have, right?
And public murals. Honestly, I painted the tiniest little mural in Fredericton for someone in like a old window that they weren't using, and it's got just had like a bad piece of wood. People would like tag it all the time. Like it wasn't like, like I love street art, but it was just kind of like it wasn't doing anything for their business. And so I painted it for them and it's still there. It's this tiny little thing. And I get strangers that tag me in it all the time because my name is on it. And I'm like, I don't live there anymore. It's this tiny job I did years ago, but like my footprint is still there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because it takes me to those places and it allows me to like move around and travel and meet people that I wouldn't have met if I wasn't there.
Yeah, there are cool things about it for sure. And meeting new people is always fun. It's just that, established part of like clientele and like your business life would be a challenge, right?
And I think post-pandemic, people got a little bit more like used to just engaging with people online.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, it's fine. I do X, Y, and Z online anyway. So that has been a benefit. But yeah, I just never really know what to expect, and that's okay.
That's why I love like my podcast. Like it's the greatest way. Like I would never really take the time to sit down and connect with this many people.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the best part about it in general. And like we're very far away. I know people are like, they're from Canada, so they'll just walk over to each other's houses. Canada's really big. And I went to school in Halifax. I didn't realize how big Canada was when I was signing up for that one.
Did you go to Shaw?
I went to NASCAD.
Oh yeah, you went to NASCAD, of course.
Yeah. So that was, it was okay. It was good. It was a competitive time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't thrive, like I'm competitive, but in art, I don't think there's space for competitiveness. I think, and I fight really hard for this in like my own community, and then empowering people and like I work in other communities with other artists doing the same thing, which I'm grateful for the pandemic because these communities grew so large.
Mm-hmm.
And we do all support one another, and it's really a beautiful thing, and we all win when that happens. Like being competitive just made everyone feel like garbage.
Yeah.
And I went to Red Deer College, which is called like RDC Polytech or something now. But it was very community, like good group of kids, good group of professors. And they were just like, they kind of let us do what we wanted, which I'm really independent. And then I got to NASCAD and the first day of painting, and I was my 3rd year. So I knew I was obsessed with portraiture. And that's all I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he dumped McDonald's toys and he's like, we're going to paint these McDonald's toys. And I like went home and cried. I was like, I don't want to waste paint on painting McDonald's toys.
Yeah.
Paint or canvas or materials, because you're buying your own, right?
Right.
We all had our school experiences. And I mean, I wouldn't trade it because that's, and Stephanie Rose Freeman, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's in Australia, but she had a bad experience. And we're like, we had to have those experiences in order to do what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Like set that space up for other people.
But even this podcasting is an extension of your portrait work, right? It's like, it's video portraiture, which is so interesting. Like I have a portrait project that's community based, and it's a little bit built into the fact that I change communities so often. It's a way for me to like engage with the community. It's basically this idea of like you inviting me on your podcast. I invite people, strangers mostly. Do you want to come and be a part of my portrait project? And I get to have this like unsolicited hour with someone of asking intimate questions and talking about things in a way that you wouldn't with a stranger. You know, like if you and I were just randomly in line at a cafe and happened to be sitting down next to each other, it would be more unlikely that we would have this kind of conversation. So it's nice to have that opportunity to say, like, to ask pointed questions and to find out certain things, and then to capture that in some way. And so I think I'm interested in the fact that, like, I love your portraiture work, your visual work, but how that's like you're pursuing it through podcasts now, and how like what other video aspects of portraiture will like come in your work now, maybe. I don't know.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I never actually thought about it that way. I did minor in film in NASCAD. That's how sick of the painters I got. I was like, I'm going to go with the film people because they love to work together. They have to, actually.
Yeah.
In order to create a final product.
Yeah, dance is like that a bit too.
Yeah. And yeah, I've never thought about the fact that, yeah, it's that I was actually thinking about, I don't know exactly what it is yet, but with motherhood and balancing like a multifaceted creative career and taking these conversations from the podcast and like bringing it all together and like bits and pieces of like, women say these powerful things in these conversations. Like you've said some powerful things already. And like, yeah, I guess that could be also like used as work in a show or for something other than like just like educational or just like entertainment, right? In a podcast. But I was like, it's coming. It's like all the creative elements are like dropping, and I'm sure it will like come together soon in what it was meant to be. But I'm really excited. It's hard to explain to people what I like, you know, when you're in that creative mode and you're like, I'm doing something, but I can't explain it so you will understand. You'll get it when it's done.
Yeah. And it's that part of like always working. Like, you don't necessarily know what the outcome of this is, but you are in that research, exploratory, experiential part of it that will lead to some other body of work. And it'll be so cool to see when it comes.
And like, what was this all for, right? Like it was for something. Like podcasting is great, but like, what is it all for? What are these conversations leading to? That's very good. That's a valid. I did something similar with your to your faces project when Gus and I were. Gus was 2 to 3 or 2 to 4, and that's when I first discovered like bringing him into the studio, and the aspect of that collection was all the people in it were parents that came to my studio to be photographed.
Cool.
And then the opening was because it was like a opening where we invited families, and it was during the day, and we had like ride along toys and swords, foam swords, and balloons with suckers tied to them. And it was like 115 people and opening and kids. And it was so cool. And I didn't realize how cool it was until like now. I'm like, that was one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so interesting to see kids interact with art too. I remember I was going to Costco one day, and there was this woman who was like an artist in the community in like a much later stage in her career that I was, older than I was. And I like, I really valued her work. I was like excited to see her. And so I had my young daughter with me at the time, and I was like, Daphne, this is Carol. She's an artist. And I expected, I don't know what I expected her to say, just like, hi. And my daughter's like, I'm an artist too. Like, that was it. That was her only like, okay, she's an artist.
I love it.
So am I. She was like 4 years old, but like, I'm looking at it in this like, oh, this is someone important that I'm excited to run into. And my daughter's like, yeah, great.
Whatever.
Another artist, just like me.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful moment though too, because she was like, yeah, they have that feeling of like belonging and acceptance, and it's fine for her to be there, and she doesn't have any imposter syndrome.
Right.
Like, I'm the same as that woman.
Yeah. I want to see the day where, because a lot of young kids are like, when they meet me and or when I'm like walking around the neighborhood or whatever, and their parents are with them, and they're like, I want to be an artist just like you, because they see me doing it. And their parents are like
Great.
rolling their eyes, and I'm just like, yes, great. I can't wait to see. Like, I look forward to the day where people don't cringe when their children say that they want to be a creative. Like, right. What about my life is making, like, because you're cringing at me, the person who's doing it right now. Like, you're criticizing what we're all doing and working on, and like what we're so passionate about. Like, what is so bad about, like, yeah, it maybe won't be super easy, but like, also, what's not easy is showing up at a job every day where you're miserable.
Right. I have a studio in like a public building. It's an arts building, but so we do get like random traffic through here of like someone who's not necessarily coming to see me or another painter. They just happen to be coming through because like right now I can smell the delicious cafe smells coming up from downstairs.
Oh, I'd be like, I'm just going for a croissant and a latte.
Exactly. So someone's here for getting lunch and they happen to wander through. Or we do get people who are into the building because they're just art, like they're people who are inspired by art or they love art, they like create. But you can often tell by like the questions that you get asked when people come through your space. You're like, all right, you're somebody who actively engages in art practice because you have some knowledge or you're asking some leading questions. And so I'm always asking people like, oh, are you an artist? And the most standard reply is like, oh, so much uncertainty. It's like, well, like, oh, they couldn't possibly say they were an artist. And so like my immediate response is back like, yeah, you're an artist. And I'm just like, maybe that's my only mission and job the entire time I'm in this studio. If that's all I'm here for is like to tell the people who come into this building and like are afraid to claim that title of I am an artist. And like, if I'm here to give you that stamp of like, you're an artist, then I'm okay with that. If that's like the only impact I ever have in this world, other than like, keeping my kids alive, having some sustaining friendships, like if that's the only impact career-wise I have, I think that's okay. Because if we all viewed ourselves more as like artists, even if you're a doctor, you're a real estate agent, you're a barista, you're maintenance worker, whatever you are, if we're all okay with this term of I'm an artist, it opens up our minds. It affects the way we interact with others. It'll affect how we run this world. It also will just like breed creativity and happiness to allow you to go to that job that maybe used to be a little soul sucking, but because you've given yourself that freedom to say, I'm an artist who is also a mechanic. Like I do all these things. I'm a painter who is also a mother, who's also a dancer, who is a military spouse, who is a traveler. Like I'm not just one thing. Even though my income comes from being an artist. I don't know. It's interesting that people are so afraid to claim that, like, hello, I'm an artist.
And I think it is shifting, because people can, with more exposure, right? With more exposure in the world, people see that it's okay to be creative, and other people are doing it. Like my one friend, she's like, oh my goodness, like, and her son loves my stuff, and she's like, oh, I can't do anything. I'm like, but you're a scrapbooker. Like that is like, you're super into scrapbooking, which good for you. Cause I tried scrapbooking my first baby book and it was trash. It was
and like scrapbooking, if you just blew up the materials that person's using, could be like an insane installation in a window.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So it's like,
and like, you have a talent, and then,
yeah.
and then, so then you encourage people, and you're like, yes, you can, like, you are creative, and you're wonderful, and you're so many things. And then she, like, that week brought me like 6 of her scrapbooks, and we sat down, and it's cool. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad you're on that path of empowering other people to like claim their creativity, because it's such a beautiful gift in this life.
Yeah. And
it really
it's freeing. It's freeing to be able to claim that. I saw a video recently. I don't know if this person was an artist or not, but someone was saying, like, growing up, my dad was Jewish. My mom wasn't. She wanted to have a Christmas tree. He was like, I'm not into having a Christmas tree. And she's like, can I have something to put ornaments on? And he agreed. And so she got like a 3D dinosaur model, like a little small 3D dinosaur model. And then she blew it up with a projector on the wall and traced each image onto plywood and cut them out. And she made like a life-size dinosaur from this 3D craft store model. And it was the Christmas dinosaur. And here 30 years later, they still have it. It's like in the living room covered in ornaments. And he's like, when I went to grade school, my parents had to like have a conversation with me that like other kids didn't have the Christmas dinosaur in their living room. But I'm just like, how cool is that? I want to take a 3D model and blow it, like just have that freedom and ability to say, like, I'm going to make this thing.
If you can think it, you can do it.
Yeah.
That's like with anything in life, like anything, if you can think it up. I don't have it beside me, and now I don't know what it's called. But Jen Sincero and her You're a Badass at Making Money book has like all the books she mentions and that you should read. And it's called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. I know, because I mentioned it in my own book. And it's totally like, it's really not about, it's about living a rich life, really. And what that means. And he's just saying, like, in order to do so, like, money is all around. Like, you need some form of money to live the science of getting rich in life. And he says, don't listen to any other advice. Don't read anything while you're reading this book. This is like the principle of, and basically summed up, it's like, if you can think it, if you can see it, if you can write it, if you can even, you conceived it, then it is possible. That's it. That's it. And it's just, that's the creative part of you. And we had, I haven't released it yet, but I want to, because it was such a good episode with Carolyn King. And she, oh my gosh, she has such an interesting life. And she's got to be in her 60s. I don't want to say her age. She's older than me. She's amazing. She's a good friend. She's in the Art Queens with me. And she's in our Color Me Happy community, but she has this beautiful tale of this life that she like went to Mexico and had her baby there and like lived in this artist place, and now she's in Arizona. Like, it's so cool. But anyway, she said she just read something where now they're finding neurons in your heart and your gut. So you're thinking, you don't just think with your brain, you do think with your heart and your gut. So I feel like the brain is like the thing that's holding you back. Like, it's logically saying that's not possible, but when you live life more in like a feeling way, like trust your gut is an actual real thing.
Wow.
Which I found like the best fact ever, and I love fun facts.
I love that. What?
Yeah.
Like, I totally left, but I've been looking at what's behind you. Is that something new you're working on? The color is just really nice.
Which one?
So,
I like to.
I'm looking at like
this
the
is
block, the far like from my right. So yeah, that
this
one.
one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see it they're coming too, but the color is so nice there.
I know. I started as like an abstract expressionist artist, really, in art school. Like, I went through the histories. I was like, what's first? I was like, oh, I love that. I can do that. And then I did it. And there were other women in our like third and fourth years, and they were doing like 12-foot ones. I was like, I want to do a 12-foot one. So I did. And it was, so I love that kind of background because, and it's fun to do with the kids. But I have the 3 stages. So first, actually 4 stages. So I start on my table behind me over here.
Okay.
And I sketch out a smaller version to make sure that the imagery is working. And that it's interesting and it's going to work, right? Yeah. Again, you don't skip those steps, because then you're wasting time and material, unless you really love like puttering around and repainting a whole bunch, which I don't have time for anymore. I used to do that. I used to spend hours and hours just like changing, doing again. I don't have time to change and do again anymore. Yeah. So I love this Frida sketch that I have, and it's just like her with her head down. You can't even tell it's her, except for the florals coming off of her. Like, so I'm thinking that one because it's been my favorite sketch lately. I've done a few, and so I feel, and I want like a orange moon. Like, I want some, I don't know, I'm seeing it in my head, but I'm doing my large scale portrait class right now to follow up with portrait class. Did you check out portrait class?
No, but I need to, definitely.
Yeah,
I love taking other people's portrait classes.
I'll send it to you. So with large scale, I use a projector, of course. So I've been so busy, but I like can't wait to film the like, because in each of my classes, I like break it down step by step so people can understand. But then I also just like hang out in the studio for a few hours and just like talk in free form, but also, which sometimes I'm like, fuck, the baby's up, I gotta go and get off the video, which people apparently love. So yeah, I'm gonna keep being myself.
It's also so interesting to give yourself that freedom and then to look back and like watch what your spontaneous process is. Like, I find that even sometimes I love to time lapse my work for my own self to see like, okay, like we were here, and then to like see that dynamic shift so quickly. I can really see where the painting is going, and like maybe it's going somewhere great, or maybe I was like, it was going somewhere great until I got in with that color, or I did this thing and I went that way. But it really helps me to like solve what I'm doing right or wrong. And sometimes I don't even know that I was like crawling all over the ground and like rolling around and working this way. And I was thinking that when I watched a video today, I shared that because I was like, look, I'm a crazy person when I'm painting, but I'm not at all thinking about how I'm moving. I'm just moving spontaneously based off of like what my immediate need is in relation to the painting. So yeah, I love watching like my work and then understanding stuff about myself that I can't process in the moment.
Yeah, I love that. I like hanging out with you. You break stuff down in such a great way.
Oh, it's so
Video,
nice to
like
talk to you, like in person.
I know. And video is it's just like another way of expressing yourself. It's just another level to it all, and it's really beautiful. So yeah, I can't wait to show everyone like the 3 stages, and the fact that every painting hits a super ugly stage.
Yeah.
So right. So this one's like finished, and this one's like at ugly stage, and then so that will be the projected part, and then of course we have to lay a canvas on the floor and capture that in real time. And I just hope no one cries or I don't swear or something.
It's so cool right now because as you're turning, the light is like changing. And so it's like almost like it's almost flashing as if like the images were digital and like stuff is happening to them because the color like contrast is changing as the light hits it differently. So there's some super cool like fake digitalization of your work happening behind you as you're talking.
Weird. Yeah. I don't know how to like fix that.
I love it. I don't think it needs to be fixed
so
right
our
now.
floor,
like,
now that you're talking about it, I've always wanted, we shot products on my floor for this thing. And honestly, I was like, if we just get the product out of there, like my floor at every stage, like, you know how they like Van Gogh up a space, like in the Van Gogh show or whatever. I'm just like, my studio floor at every stage that it's been, I should have captured it. And it could be like, if I knew anything about projecting and video things, like my studio floor could have lived in one of those giant spaces everywhere all the time.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I hope when we're not in this house one day that someone just like epoxies over it and like keeps the floor because it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a really neat idea.
It's always like ideas. I have so many ideas, but then you're like, time and execution.
I know.
Right? You have to pick and choose.
The day is like selfishly short. And my daughter has that all the time. She'll be like, you said we could do this one thing. And I'm like, I did. And then we did like 17 other fun things that just came up.
Well, we didn't play Monopoly.
Somebody came over and said, do you want to jump on the trampoline? So you went and jumped on the trampoline instead. So we didn't have time for this. Like, I acknowledge we didn't do that thing I said. And then, she's got the like, she's 7, but 15 really? Because those spicy eyes. She's like,
it's right before they have to go to bed too. And you're like,
literally last night on her way to the bath, she told me she didn't do something I said she could do. And she was like, my fault.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We've been, I finally played Monopoly with them and they schooled me so hard. I was like, why do they keep landing on the...
They're probably like, we're so excited to put you in jail.
Yeah. I haven't gone to jail yet. No one's gone to jail yet. Or timeout, it's called. It's Kids Monopoly. But they are just like, I'm like, these kids are going to do well because they are just like great at Monopoly. Have no money mindset issues here. Where I'm like, I lost again. But I'm so happy for you. That so sums up my career with... No, I'm doing great with money mindset. It's improved substantially.
Well, I think everyone's at that time right now where it's like, okay, just did my taxes.
Yeah.
Great.
Actually, this is my first good, like, not like what I mean is like not paying or anything. Like, I always donate and they put it on my husband's and then I pay and he doesn't. I'm like, I'm donating. There's something I don't understand about it clearly. But I'm like, and he's getting money back and I'm donating. I don't. And he's like, we have to because my income's higher. And I was like, well, next year my income's going to be higher. So fuck you.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is just to sneak above him a little bit. So then my donations fall on mine. And that's my financial goal. It's like not important, but anyway, tax season, a lot of artists shared in tax season. Like, I don't know if you saw this real theme, but like they broke down, what they were. And I'm like, I remember being there and, only making $8 or minus $1,000 or $12,000 a year on what I was doing. And the shift it took to where I'm even sitting now was huge and a lot of work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so to like say that I like money is even a big one. and I was like really stressed and worried. We went on this trip, so like you're tired and out of routine, and my husband's like, what's wrong? Are you mad that you're paying taxes? And I was like, I'm actually really not. I'm really happy about taxes this year. Like, it's great, because that means I like did really well. And I'm like, that's not what's bothering me at all. I'm like, I don't care a lick about taxes. And I was so proud of myself in that moment, because before, taxes would have been like, I've been like, why did this happen? You know?
Yeah. I think money is really interesting, but always like this time of year is such a look back, because you're looking at what was the year like? What was the expenditure for running my business? What was my income? How did it compare to the year before? Like, so many things that are happening compiled with, I'm not sure how this is for you, but like for me, January to March is like my least
Dead zone.
flow of money coming in for the entire year. So it's compounded by the fact that you're like feeling like you have made no money from January to March, and you're probably investing in your business. Like, I just had to buy a huge order of prints because I need restock of prints, and because I'm going to be at some summer shows and I want to have different prints than I had last year. Because sure, there might be people who come through that are new people and they don't know that I had that print there last year, but I might have someone who saw me last year and loved my work and bought something. And if they come through and I have all the same work available, you know, like some people are only buying prints.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I want to make sure I have something new to offer them. But that means a lot of spending to get ready for all that. The packaging for the prints, applying for shows, and like prepaying for those fees, which I won't begin to see any, money coming in from those shows until the show happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just in that money place of like, it's your tax season. You've just looked back at the year before, low income coming in, big money going out. And then like, what does the rest of the year look like? So I don't know how we got on the topic, but yes, that's where I'm currently at.
So many seasons of that and burnout, and like, I don't regret them because there's really big lessons. So, and breaking it down in a spreadsheet, and I don't know how to do that. So I actually hired someone to do it, and looking over the years at like, what is the biggest moneymaker and what to focus on and where your practice is even going. Not that it's all about that, but like how, when you have a sustainable practice with passive income, then you have the freedom to know, and you don't freak out in that time, in that window that is going to happen every year, because guaranteed it does. But figuring out how to maybe solve that issue or make enough in advance. And the thing about art is that it's like completely sometimes unpredictable. And I had this conversation, I have to go soon, but I had this conversation with 4 more minutes, my art consultant, and she's like, you can't think like that, thinking that your art is a bonus. I'm like, but what I've learned in 15 years is that I can't depend on it for like that, like feed my family, pay my bills, pay for my prints, pay for my, like, I need something that sits there that I won't freak out if it doesn't happen, right? I need something that will be there even if it doesn't happen. So I think to sit down and spreadsheet every year what's making what and where you can put energy and work and set up those sustainable passive incomes. How I got through that season, and this won't look the same for everyone, is I put one of my classes on sale. And I only learned that last year, that people loved learning the one technique that I like hoarded for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and once I like got out of that lack fear mindset of like, what if someone makes something just like me, which is not even possible, by the way. And like shared and believed in like abundance and just like had faith in like it will happen. It was such a shift. And this didn't happen overnight. I'm saying years of like reading self-help, money mindset, and like actually sitting down. Leah Guzman does a lot of work in her art group too, and she was on our podcast about money mindset, and like she said, do you have a money monster? That's what it was called. Stuff like that, like what is holding you back. So, and this could be a whole episode, but that's my 2 cents on like what could help through that, you know, panic season. And that's why this season it didn't have a panic. I actually even had extra to like, I'm reading Happy Money, listening to Happy Money right now. I took some money and I did something really happy with it because this is my normal time of like panic. So I, even before I knew, the week before I knew what I owed on my taxes, I took a big lump. I was like, I'm just going to have faith. And this is such happy money that I'm doing for this person. And it's going to make, I know she needs a new computer. And because it was my videographer and I was paying her in increments. And I was like, I'm just going to pay her it all so she can get that new editing computer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it fucking worked out. I'm not saying that, like, it just works. And so I advise anyone to, like, if you are struggling with that sort of mindset, I would work on it and somehow it works out. It's like the worst advice. If I listened to myself say this right now, I'd be like, fuck you, crazy woman.
But it's like just some of those big risks. Like this piece I'm sitting in front of is like a 60 by 90. And that's my plan for some of the summer shows too, is like, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of new prints because I know when I look back at my stats for what I sold at the show, I sold a ton of prints and it was great because that's one category of people. But then I also sold a bunch of originals and it was like half of my income came from originals from that event and half came from prints. So I'm like, wow. I need to have both, but like, I'm going to take some big originals because one, that's going to attract people to come in. And even if you're only going to buy a print, you're still like, that's great. You got it in a print. I can buy the $45 version of that.
Yeah.
But like to really make it worth my while, I want it to be like way more than half of my income from the show comes from originals because maybe I'll sell, like if I just sell one big original, that could potentially triple what my sales would have been for originals if I had small pieces, because you can only have so much in your booth, right? So that's my gamble this summer. I'm gonna try it and see about having some larger original pieces out there.
Also, though, they impact that space. They draw people in.
Exactly. Like, even if it doubles my print sales, it's still a great thing that happened.
And don't, like, for other creatives, never discount prints or small pieces because your return customer is your best customer. You're growing your collector base. Yeah. Or small custom work art orders. Like every person in the burnout year of 130 originals, I had like probably 30% of those people returned for something else or recommended.
Like my website will say like, this is a returning customer. And I'm like, all right, like
cool.
It makes you feel different too. When I'm like,
use my memory.
When I'm packaging something up for that person, I feel different too of just like, even if I don't know this person at all, but I'm like, I don't know who you are, but this website is telling me you're a returning customer. I automatically have like my gratitude has doubled for that person. And so that probably affects, maybe I'm like put some extra stuff in that package.
Or like extra stuff, extra notes, I always give gifts. I travel around to every meeting and anything. The one lady who I like gave away some prints in the ear office at the doctor, like it was nuts. Anyway, we could talk forever, but I have to pick up Teddy from play school.
And it was so nice to chat with you, and I'll talk again. And
oh yes,
excited to see what you do next.
One day we might cross paths in Canada.
If you come to Ontario, I'll tell you if we come out west at all. But let me know.
Yeah, you're welcome here.
Yeah, or if you're in Toronto to visit your sister, I'm like 3 hours away. So she's
having a baby right now. right now.
That's so
She just
exciting.
texted. She's in labor. It's her first baby, so
Oh my
that
God.
might be sooner rather
You never
than
know.
later.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a
just
Toronto
a
art
quick,
night.
I'll help you in your roughest stage of life trip
Yeah.
for 3 days
Yeah.
and
I
make
think
you
you're going to be with the
stew.
baby. You're going to be a little distracted, but maybe another time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, have a good
Okay.
rest of your day. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
If you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.